Hey everybody, it's Scott Sandler for HypnoThoughts Live, and as you know by now, I'm speed dating. The idea is really simple. HypnoThoughts Live is so big, and there are so many awesome presenters who are generous with their time and their amazing content that it can be a little overwhelming. And so we've been getting feedback from attendees that say, look, I just don't even know where to start, like digesting all this information. And the answer is speed dating. I'm going to spend 10 to 15 minutes with a bunch of our pre and post conference workshop presenters so that you get a sense for who they are and what the course is so that you can make the best decision for you. Simple idea, happens to work. And I'm joined by today by a guy that I've gotten to know over the last handful of years, quite a few years now, he's a busy pro. He's a guy who's doing the work. He's a guy who's showing up, and he's a guy who's really generous with his content and his time. And it's just been fun to become friends with. Rich, how are you? And what are you bringing to HypnoThoughts Live this year?
Scott, I am very excited about, listen, the past couple of years, we went through our thing and it all worked out fantastic and lots of great stuff going on, and I know this is going to be a massive year. I have the feeling where this is going to be the one where people are really back in the game. We're doing my signature class, Gorilla Hypnosis, will be my post-conference class, which is all about you becoming a really top flight induction master.
And you've taught Gorilla Hypnosis a couple times at HypnoThoughts Live, and obviously we've invited you back to do it because we've gotten such great feedback about it. I mean, that goes without saying. But I want to drill in and make this really actionable for the people who are watching this, who either have heard of you or have heard of HypnoThoughts Live, but are maybe new to both of us or have been thinking about taking your class for a while. So let's start really simply. Who's this class for? Is it beginners, brand new? Is it seasoned vets, or is it somewhere in between? Who should take this class?
It's interesting how we have a mixture of people in the class. Like in the last class, we had some super high-end individuals in the class that they were taking like, wow, it was kind of cool because like these guys are super well known and powerful in the industry.
Right.
And it was great because as the class was going on, you saw these guys had these aha moments that were like, man, I've been in this business like, 30, 40 years. And where do you come up with these nuances? Where do you come up with these special techniques and ideas on how to make these things work? So it's great for a person who really wants to go to elite level. And then the newcomers, they don't get bogged down with a lot of like old school techniques that aren't as efficient in today's marketplace. So they don't have to unlearn a lot of things. So I love getting those fresh people also.
Sure.
So it's really for everybody. Now, this is not a class about doing hypnosis therapy. There's no therapy involved in this at all. This is strictly about you getting people under deep hypnosis quickly and effectively, where you never have to hear that statement again. Oh man, I feel very relaxed. I don't know if I was really hypnotized though. You will never hear that statement ever again.
Yeah. And that means that there are people who are great, experienced, have been doing this forever, but the style they have doesn't lend itself to, the kind of stuff you're talking about. And so this gives them that. Or people, like you said, brand new, it gives them the foundations. And this was something that in my career I separated, and I think you do as well, although we've never talked about it, is there's a difference between doing hypnosis and doing hypnotherapy, right? And not just, I'm not saying entertainment versus therapy.
Yep.
I'm saying
I know where you're going with this. Yep.
Like just the core, doing the fundamentals of hypnosis well. Like there are people who are hypnotherapists who are good hypnotherapists, but their fundamentals aren't really locked in, and it makes their work harder. And I think one of the reasons your class is so popular is because it drills in fundamentals well.
Absolutely. I know where you're going with this. I know your thought process. Same exact thought process I have. Hypnosis is actually two separate line items. The actual induction, get the person deep.
Yes.
Then the therapy that comes after, or as a stage hypnotist, the funniness that comes after it.
Sure.
So whether it's being funny things or a therapy, but the induction needs to come first, and you have to be really good at that. And that's what this does. When I hear hypnotists, say, oh, you can't make, somebody do something against their nature, or you can't hypnotize them against their will. As a stage hypnotist, in very precarious situations every single night. I've broken both of those rules every single night now for the past 25 to 30 years. As long as you get that subject super deep, you can get them to go pretty much anywhere, as long as you make the story real enough.
Right.
So my objective is to get the practitioner or the hypnotist so good at the induction part that it makes their therapy that much more powerful and their impact that much greater. So now you have these advocates, you've hypnotized this person, you did some therapy on them, they say, wow, they get that wow experience, and they go back and they tell everybody. They now become ambassadors to your business, but also to hypnosis in general. They tell people like, hey, you know what? I'll tell you, I didn't know if hypnosis was real, but now I realize, man, I was knocked out. And I'm sure a lot of people have come up with that subject where the wife is bringing the husband in. He needs to quit smoking, or she needs to lose weight. Now they're not coming on their own; they're being dragged in by the spouse.
Right.
It's a hard client, so you have to make sure that you can have the techniques to drill that subject down super deep, so you can be effective and get the work done.
You use the word ambassador. That the person can then become an ambassador of your work or hypnosis in general. And I totally agree. But as you said the word ambassador and you were talking about fundamentals, something just popped into my head. And I don't know if you watched there's a documentary on the basketball dream team, and it was Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, all of them.
Yep.
And there was this idea of fundamentals and work ethic. There was sort of a long current theme in that was all about Kobe Bryant and how he drilled the fundamentals. And that guy was still taking, 1,000 free throws a day. That guy was still practicing bounce passes every day. And the other guys on the dream team were inspired by his work ethic and his attention to detail in the fundamentals. And I really think this class fits right there. That I don't care how professional you are. I don't care how many clients you've helped. Great. I'm not taking any of that away from you. This class isn't saying you're not an NBA player. This class is saying even NBA players need to keep making sure their fundamentals are rock solid.
There's a saying in the military, be brilliant at the basics.
There it is. Yes.
And I always bring up Vince Lombardi, who, the Green Bay Packers, who won the first 2 Super Bowls, only knew 17 plays. The other team knew the 17 plays. They watched the films, but they were so brilliant at those 17 plays, even though the other team knew it was coming, they couldn't stop them.
For sure.
So that's the exact same thing. Guerrilla hypnosis, believe it or not, is only 5 inductions, literally 5. There's guys who say, I know 50 inductions, all these inductions. I can show you how with only mastering these 5, there will never be a scenario that you come into play where you cannot knock those people out deeply, fast, and get them where they become like instant, you can change them instantly and get the work done no matter what the scenario is. And I've had people challenge me, what about this? I got one of those 5 inductions that'll take care of that. Well, what about, I got it down.
Right. And so that's, 5 is a very digestible number, like me, to the people who are thinking of taking this class, they're like, whoa, I'm going to learn all this stuff. Is it going to be overwhelming? 5 is the answer is no, you will not be overwhelmed. You will
exactly
be really good at 5.
And what's interesting is the fact that it's really only 4. The 5th one's only for showing off. Sure. It does have its, area where you can be using this, but the 5th one's really only for showing off in front of people, so.
And what you're talking about is the 80-20 principle, right? Where like 20% of the stuff is going to do 80% of your lifting. And that's what it is. Like you can learn 100 inductions, but how often are you going to use all 100? Just get good at what you need to get good at to be effective. And that simplification makes your job way easier.
Exactly. I always tell people, all right, so yes, is when people say yes to you, you become successful. Okay. But when people say no to you, that's the second best answer you can get. So, because what's happening is you're actually in the game, you're trying, you're gaining data, you're figuring things out. So over the course of, 30-something year career, I've figured things out and I want people to say yes. And when people say yes, it's because of who you are ahead of time, your reputation, precedes you.
Yep.
And by building that into your hypnosis formula, and then adding a bombardment of techniques that you are very efficient at and very skillful at, you will become a deadly hypnotist, as when it comes to induction stuff. That if you add the therapy, your therapy protocol onto the back of that, or your stage protocol onto the back of that, you have killer deep subjects. We're talking like level 6 and below, like with these subjects are so fractionated within 30 seconds to a minute that you can literally make up any story and they'll go with it and say, okay, I'm good to go. And
So I want to shift gears because I think people get a good sense of what you're talking about there. I want to talk about what's going to happen in the room now. So we've done a good job of explaining the sort of the why and the what, but let's talk about how it happens. Let's talk about in the room at HypnoThoughts Live. They sign up for your post-conference Gorilla Hypnosis. What are they going to be doing all day?
Okay, so during the day, and this is why this class is super unique and super fun for everybody. During the day, we're going to learn all 5 inductions. So there's 2 days. So in those 5 inductions, I actually have these flow charts that we give, as handouts, to the group. Actually, as soon as you sign up, it's actually advantageous to sign up earlier because you get the materials ahead of time.
Right.
So that way you can learn the script work ahead of time. And that way, when you get to the class, it's you're learning the mechanics at that point.
Yeah.
You're learning some of the dynamics. So during the day, we actually practice and learn the inductions very intimately. I give you the flow charts. We break it all out. We demonstrate it in the classroom and you get very proficient at it. But then at night, I take you out into the field and really pull your feet to the fire. So now I said, okay, let's see you hypnotize people in this particular scenario. And it's almost like target shooting.
Yeah.
I set the targets out 100 yards out and make the target super small. So that way with iron sights, without a scope, you have to knock those targets down. If you could do that at close range, you're deadly.
Right.
So now think about being able to knock out people with a band playing in the background. They're standing up, the most adverse conditions you could possibly imagine. And if you can knock the person out deep in 30 seconds,
right.
Imagine what you could do in your office, laying on a beautiful couch with the music, the headphones on, and how amazing is your hypnotic sessions going to be when you can hit that long range target like I'm giving you at that night.
Yeah.
And how you bring it into the perfect scenario, you're deadly. You're basically bulletproof at that point. I don't care what subject you bring into that room, you'll be knocking them out. So yes, it's 2 full days. During the day, we learn how to do it. And then at night, we practice it and get really good at it. I have cameras running too the entire time.
Sure.
So it's kind of cool to watch when we come back on this for the second day of training. We watch the videos of people hypnotizing people in the streets.
And you got game film, right?
Yeah, it's really awesome. And what happens is I like to pair people up with mismatched situations. We had this like girl who was in the class and she had like these supermodel looks. She had the tall look, always dressed to perfection, the hair done. And all of a sudden, a bunch of these like thugs came walking down the street. I'm like, oh, perfect for you. Come over here. We're going to hypnotize you. And I put them with the supermodel girl and she knocked these guys out and they were like, boom, they were down. And the crowd just went like lunacy to see it happen because it was such a mismatched couple. It was so much fun to watch it happen.
So, last thing that I want to make sure that people understand about you, if they're considering taking this class, is you already mentioned that you're going to like give materials in advance so they have time to read it. But I also want to just give you an opportunity to touch on what happens after the class, because what you don't do is, have them all show up in the class and then you do the one day, do the second day, shake their hands and say goodbye. There's a relationship with you and Joe that happens for all these students. And I just want you to make sure that they understand that.
Yeah, it's a family. Like I'm like Don Corleone, and Joe is my consigliere. She's
amazing.
She really is. She's the best part, and she's like my Tom Hagen. And she's not a wartime consigliere, but it's all good. But
I said to Stephanie, you'd be living under a bridge if it wasn't for Joe. She's fantastic. She's
She
just
really
the
is.
best thing in the world.
My email address is actually the family at richguzzi.com because once you join my family, that's it.
Yes.
Part of our group. So any person who takes training with us, there's always a post-training after the training. So there's 100 days, 100 days of lessons after the class itself.
100 days.
100 days. Because here's my problem with most trainings. You take the training and all of a sudden, hey, they go do what you got to do. And then life gets in the way. The dog's got to go to the vet, the lawnmower breaks. Then all of a sudden something's happened. Those skills atrophy over time. Next thing you know, it diminishes.
Right.
So I have to keep you in the game. So I'm going to say, okay, day one, hey, did you practice this thing over here? Make sure you do this, this, and this today. That's lesson number one. You have 100 days of that. Now you're twice as good as just getting 1% better every day over the course of 100 days. You've multiplied the effect and you're that good. And by implementing the materials, by doing, I'm all about doing because I learned kinesthetic. I'm strictly a kinesthetic learner, so I like to teach the same way. We have to do this. Get your hands dirty, get in the game. Let's do it. So if I give you a lesson every day, do this. Next day, do this. And it stacks upon each other. And after 100 days, you've got these materials. They're basically in your life.
Exactly. And like I said at the beginning, like you're one of those guys who's a busy professional. You're doing the big shows. You're out on the road. You're doing great stuff. And obviously teaching as well. But for the people who are watching this saying, okay, I really want to know this stuff. I really want to make sure I learn it from somebody who's, battle tested, who's actually, this isn't a theory class. This is a roll up your sleeve and do it and make sure you know how to do it when you walk out.
These techniques came about because I hate looking stupid. That's the word. That's the big thing for me. So as a comedian out in the field, every club, every venue I work has a relationship with the media in that town. And this is exactly how it happened. I'm telling you straight out exactly how it happened. So now they want you to do TV and radio every morning to promote the shows because you want to draw people.
You want to fill the room. Yeah.
That's how the club makes money. So now at 7 o'clock in the morning, you're on this radio show or TV show. Hey, hypnotize this guy. And it's, the shock jock. And they say, want you to hypnotize some intern who does not want to be hypnotized because they know that he's going to get thrown in the meat grinder. That's what's going to happen. So now he's like, oh, I don't know. So how do you knock that guy out? And I had to develop the techniques to be able to do those very precarious situations. Plus, when I'm doing the show, there's people up there every night trying to fool around, trying to ruin your show on purpose. And you have to be able to weave your way out.
Knuckleheads.
You got to work your way through the minefield. So that's where these 5 techniques came. And I developed it because you have to be battle hardened. You really have to be, it's like a battle. And you have to make sure that you are not going to be beat. That subject who comes into your office, dragged by the spouse and says, they need to lose weight. And now you're like, you paint it into a corner. What am I going to do? I'm going to give you the technique to knock that person out fast. And then they're going to be like, whoa, that was something. And then they become your advocates to your business going forward. You will have battle hardened skills.
Yeah, the way I think of that is those people that have resistance, it's like a slingshot or a bow and arrow. Like the more resistance you got at first, the more they're going to send for you. As soon as you know how to turn them around.
I call that the whipsaw. It's like a head-on collision.
Same thing. Yeah, exactly.
It's like, like the atheist becomes the biggest believer in God because what happens is you prove them, and that's it. And that bang, you're off to the races.
Perfect. So to the people who are watching this, you've got a sense already now of what this is. But if you want to know more, you go to htlive.net, you click on schedule. We have the pre and post conference. And by the way, all the other courses, all their descriptions are right there to make sure that you're signing up for the class that's perfect for you. Because one of the great things about our presenters is they know that what they're teaching isn't the right thing for everybody at this moment. They might be at a different stage in their career. And all of us want to make sure that you're in a spot that gets you to live the life you want to live, have the career you want to have, and help the people you want to help. And that's what HypnoThoughts Live is all about. And so I want to say, Rich, to you, thank you, number one, for coming back and continuing to teach great stuff and be a supporter of HypnoThoughts Live. And thanks for taking time to watch this. And those of you guys who are watching this, go to htlive.net. You can check out Rich's class, and we've made it real simple right there for you to just check out and register in the description. to make this easy. And Rich, I will see you in Vegas very soon.
I can't wait. And it's already a great group. The people who've signed up are already fantastic. And this is going to be an elite group. I have psychiatrists coming in from around the world.
Yes.
At this time. It's really incredible what's going on. It's becoming a movement.
Awesome. Yeah, we will see you in Vegas. And this is a class that is not to be missed. So everyone make sure you check it out and we'll see you there.